Welcome back to another video. So one thing that I really like to do is I love to set up a small fish tank or a decent sized fish tank and put lures in it and just kind of see how they look underwater, some of the idiosyncrasies of the bait. And I'm actually in a different house right now because we moved and I finally got my tank set up and I'm really excited. So I've been playing with a few things, and in this video I'm gonna run through Northland's new eye candy plastics that I've been able to fish with this year. And we're gonna put them in the tank and look at a couple shapes in particular. So we have the paddle shad and we have the smelt minnow. I'm gonna drop them in there and you can get a closer look at what these things actually look like underwater. All right, so first up I wanna talk a little bit about when and how I like to use these baits. So for me, what I love to do with these baits is I love to put them on jig heads and I love to fish them over the weeds, over rocks, just ripping them, or in the case of the paddle tail, just swimming it along. And it can just be absolutely deadly. One thing that is sort of interesting about these plastics is the fact that the particular material that they're made out of is a lot more buoyant. So essentially what that means is you need to upsize those jigs, go heavier to compensate for the fact that these plastics fall a little bit slower than traditional plastics. So when I'm ripping jigs with plastics, I'm not gonna go anything lighter than a 1/4 ounce weight. I'll even bump it up to a 3/8 ounce weight. The jigs that I've been using the most have been, number one, the tungstens, just because I love that smaller profile. You get a heavier weight with the smaller profile, and the smaller profile is a little bit more hydrodynamic, so it shoots through the water a little bit more quickly. But in addition to that, another good option if I'm fishing in an area where maybe there's gonna be some pike and I don't wanna lose as many jigs, is I will use the deep V jigs. And those have the correct shank hook and just a perfect hook for ripping plastic. So that's kind of how I'll rig it up. And they got a bunch of really cool colors, but you can go with sort of more of the natural look, you know, whether that's the grays, the silvers, the kind of translucent colors. There's a lot of cool translucent colors, but in addition to that, you know, they have some brighter ones. So they have orange, they have chartreuse, they have all types of colors that are even brighter than this one right here. So lots of cool options. As far as what these baits look like underwater and what they do, one thing that I love about them is the fact that they're so soft. With this smelt minnow, when you rip that bait through the water column, you'll see in the tank right now that that tail has a little extra flapping action, and that's just because these plastics are so soft. And if you look right here, basically indestructible. I mean, you're gonna be able to catch a ton of fish on any particular plastic that you're using. With the biggest key, one thing that I really like to do just to make this whole package extremely durable is I like to put just a little tiny dab of super glue on the tip of the plastic right before I finish putting it up against the jig head. So the jig head and the plastic are basically one package that is gonna be really, really tough. With, you know, the only exception that you might lose it is if the whole thing snaps off. So that's one thing I love about it. I really have had a lot of success of all the eye candy plastics, probably the most success on the paddle shad. It's just a really universal walleye catching bait. We've caught a lot of fish on them in spring and through the summer, and now that we're getting into fall, I know I'm gonna be using it a lot more just for ripping plastics over the weeds. You know, as we get into fall right now, it's a really good time to find fish up shallow in the exact same places where you were finding them in spring. And the paddle tail is just absolutely killer this time of year. And this one is just the perfect profile. And it's got a ton of action as you rip it through the water. Another thing about this bait is the fact you can fish it really slowly on kind of a lighter jig head. This tail is just gonna kick no matter what, just because this plastic is so soft. That's gonna have a really great visual appeal to the walleyes without a whole lot of action needing to be imparted. But that said, you can definitely do the rip jigging strategy with it. So that's just a really quick look at couple profiles that I've been using a ton this year, and it's also a couple profiles that are back in stock right now on Northland's website. So if you want to check it out, go to northlandtackle.com. But that's about all we got for you in this video. Hopefully you enjoyed some of those visuals. Hopefully you enjoyed getting a closer look at a couple baits that I've had a lot of success with this season. And if you enjoyed this video and you learned something, make sure to hit that little red subscribe button down below, because we have a lot more awesome content coming in the future. And until then, we will see you in the next one.